Good morning, everyone. It is about 18 minutes before 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the day that we call Tuesday, in the month that we call November, in the year that we call 2025, on the date that we call the 11th. I haven't been on since October 30th, which was a Thursday. So I saw you all Thursday. I had done the guided meditation, and I had also done a card read. And Friday, our worlds turned upside down here in my family. We lost my brother-in-law. 1 minute everything was normal, like life should be, and I was talking back and forth with them. They were getting a dog that day, adopting a dog. Really excited about that. And we were planning on going over the very next day to meet the new pup, who's 1.5 years old, and hang out and visit. And we were messaging back and forth. My brother-in-law had run out and gotten flea shampoo and blankets and bedding and treats, and the pup was going to be there at 2 p.m. and it was all very exciting. And then the next thing I know, I got a call saying, hurry, there's been an accident. And I rushed to get there. I got there just in time for the ambulance was getting there at the same time. First responders were there. Already, and we lost him. So that's why I haven't been on. It's been a really hard week. We had a service yesterday. So that's why you haven't seen me. I think I need to figure it out so that if I'm not coming on, somebody comes on and tells you all why I'm not coming on. So, yeah, it's just been a really hard week. And my heart's broken. Sucks. Just sucks. So, I don't even remember the questions that I was asked to look at. So, you're all going to have to rewrite them in the comments. Today, I'm just going to do a really quick universal message, okay, you guys? And then I'm going to get off because I just am. I'm gonna try to make this quick. I'm just really heartbroken and I need time to cry. And it's not good to hold it in. So we're just gonna do a quick message from the universe. And then I'm gonna go about the business of allowing myself to grieve. So that's what we're asking for. I'm connecting with my highest self and my spiritual team, that which has my highest and greatest good for intentions only and always. I'm connecting directly to my Creator, the Creator that loves all in creation and created all in creation. And I'm asking my spiritual team to help me with the communication and my highest self so that I can receive the clearest messages possible. Only love is welcome here and only truth is welcome here. So I don't know what's going on in the world. I've been pretty caught up in my own world. And so I'm just going to ask for a universal message. We're going to pull one card first and see what they want to start the conversation with. And then we'll do a 7-card spread and see what they have to say. What could most benefit us to hear right now? Give us some clarity, some insight, some advice, whatever it is that they think we could most benefit from hearing today. Please and thank you. So we'll start with one card. We'll get the topic, and then I'll pull a 7-card spread directly after. I hope you're all having a beautiful morning. Hope you've all had a wonderful week. All right, let's pull a card, you guys. The Chariot. The Chariot's a higher arcana card. That is big picture. The Chariot is moving forward and protected. Spiritually protected, physically protected. Seeking truth and seeking knowledge as he goes. So let's pull the 7-card spread from that. See what they have to say. All right, let's pull that 7-card spread. First card up is the Tower. I'll get these cards laid and then I'll arrange them so that you can see them. It's quite a spread. Let's see. All right. Does that work? I'm going to pause you for a minute. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I apologize for the lighting. It's dark here. It is. The sky is starting to turn that dark blue, so it's going to be light here soonish. I needed a sip of my coffee. All right, so they start the story out with moving forward, being armored up, protected, seeking the truth and seeking the information, but putting on your spiritual protection and putting on your physical protection as well, right? So the pathway, the energy that starts the pathway, we have several higher arcana cards in this 7-card spread. So we have the Empress, the Tower, the Sun, and the Hermit in the 7-card spread. And we have the Chariot that started the story. So in this story here, there's 5 higher arcana cards, which is talking big picture. So not day to day, but big picture. All right. So keep that in mind, because that's important to know the difference, right? So we have a lot of big picture. We have a big picture leading our pathway. So the big picture that leads the pathway is the Empress. And the Empress that's the 3, and that's joy. And that's also great healing. She's the great earth healer. And she realizes that life is beautiful. I wish that you could see. She realizes that life is very beautiful, and she puts a lot of healing into the world. But she also realizes that not only are we the rose, but we're also the thorn. So the earth plane in itself is both beautiful and ugly, right? Amazing and dangerous. There's a lot of thorns behind her, along with all the roses that she's blooming by putting her own healing into the world. So she reminds us that we live in a world of contrast, that we live in an amazing and beautiful and ugly and terrible world, but that the more healing we do with ourselves and the more healing we do in the world, we get to experience the joy in that, right? So that's what's leading this pathway, is the healing, the beauty, the joy in the beauty, and understanding that there is contrast here. But not letting the contrast stop us from enjoying the beauty. And that's what's driving this whole reading. So we come up from her, and then we have the 5 of Cups, and then we come up from that, and we have the 6, which is my media card, okay? So the 5 of Cups, 5 is always chaos and great change, right? Great change takes place with the number 5. It can be really uncomfortable because that change can come through chaos. And in this particular card, you have somebody overpowering another, sort of coming at someone. I always raised Michael, this is how, and people love the analogy, and they say it themselves now. There's a way that you can present things to people. You can present things to people on a silver platter, which is very eloquently, and you can also just present things on a plate, just an ordinary dinner plate. And it's not eloquent, it's just truthful, it's not harmful, it's not arrogant, it's just on a dinner plate. It's just presenting facts or truth, right? And then you can present things on a garbage can lid, and it comes off badly, and it's arrogant, and whatever your intentions are, they might not be taken from others very well because you've presented it badly on that garbage can lid, right? And so if you look, you can see that there's the woman behind looks like a child, a smaller person. And they're kind of yelling and pointing their finger, presenting things on a garbage can lid. And this kid has his ears plugged and doesn't want to listen, and it's very upsetting emotionally. Emotionally, the cups are spilled. So that's right in the center, you guys. So that's right where we're at right now. Okay? So it seems like there's a lot of chaos in the way people are presenting things. The good news is that the Empress is driving all of this with her healing, and she does present the contrast. She shows you the contrast, okay? So she shows you the rose and the thorns. And then we come up and we have an emotional spillage going everywhere because people aren't necessarily being very kind to one another. And the reason why they're not being kind to one another, when we come up from that, we have the 6. And this is my media card. And I'm sorry about the lighting, but I just can't do bright, harsh light in the morning. It will make my eyes hurt. But this is my media card. And in my media card, in this Deviant Moon deck, you'll see there's like a whole family down here, right? And they're watching the show. They're watching the media. And the media has the devil and the good guy. The dark and the light is basically what we're going to say. The dark and the light. And they're putting on this show, right? Above that, there is the 6. So there's birthing of something new and divine love guiding this whole process. But these people down here, their eyes are like brainwashed. And so they're viewing this show from this brainwashed status where they're taking in all of this crap here in the media and they believe it, okay? And that's what's hovering right above the nastiness and people being just plain shitty and presenting things on garbage can lids. So we're living in a time, they're saying that though great healing is going to come to pass, because the Empress is at work, that people are acting like assholes. Let's just tell it like it is, because that's who I am. And they're spewing their ideologies, and they're spewing their beliefs, and they're spewing their emotions, and they're just being hateful and abrupt. And they're taking it out on people that may not even care or want to listen. So they're going to people that it doesn't, those people that, I mean, this kid was just minding his own business. And then this woman comes out and starts yelling, right? And saying whatever it is that she's saying, which is upsetting. And so that's what's happening right now. Like, people are puking out words on garbage can lids to people that are just minding their own business, and they're creating a semblance of chaos rather than acting like good, regular people, you know, that people used to act like once upon a time. And that's where we're at, you guys. We're in the midst of like all of this disgusting behavior. And it's because of influences. People are watching, they're either watching the news or they're watching the back channels. They're getting caught up in stories. They're getting caught up in a show, and they're mesmerized by it, hypnotized by it, brainwashed by it. And this could go for any one of us, right? Let's say you're watching a podcaster and you take everything that podcaster presents as gospel. And it might not be, you guys. Like, the message in this is to pull back from what you're watching and stop believing every single thing and expecting everyone to believe what we believe, what you believe, what I believe. And don't act out, you know. I don't believe any of you act out. I think that you're part of, I believe, I hope, in my heart, that you're all part of the group of people that is behaving rationally and lovingly, and not just overpowering people with your thoughts, your beliefs, what you think is going on, and your ideologies. I believe all of you here are part of that. But the universe right now is telling us that this is happening. bigly, I'll use that word, bigly, on the world stage. A lot of people are behaving this way right now. And I do know there's shit going on with the EBTs. There was, you know, people are... my boyfriend was telling me that someone was on comparing abortions and EBTs. I mean, that's garbage can lid bullshit, right? For one thing, you can't compare abortion to EBT cards. And just like you can't compare a mask not being on someone's face to peeing in the grocery store aisle. I mean, which is the same kind of crazy-ass shit that we've been having to deal with for 5 years. People just being ridiculous. And this is happening all over. But the universe wants us to know that there is a healing that's taking place. And that as we heal, we have to see the thorns, right? So it's basically like, I'll never forget one of my classmates. She lives up the road from me. We grew up together. We knew each other before kindergarten. Her dad used to bring her down to buy milk off of my dad. And because we had cows, and they would come down and they would buy their milk from us. And so we knew each other. We were playing together before kindergarten. And I'll never forget, I burst out laughing. We were talking one day years ago, and she said, you know, there was a time where people kept their shit in the closet. Like, what, did the light bulb burn out or what? Because I'll buy them a case. I'll buy them a case of light bulbs if they just take their stuff back to their closet. And that was long before everything got this bad. It was in the beginning of people starting to think that when you're in the grocery store line and they turn around and start talking to you, they can start talking to you about religion and politics and things that we'd been taught to keep our mouths shut about, right? And so we laughed and laughed and laughed about how people were overstepping, like just thinking that they can spew their ideologies out onto you back then. And it's gotten so much worse now. And that's what we're seeing here in the middle. Just a spewing of ideologies, and it's presented so badly. And it's because the universe is saying it's because people aren't thinking for themselves. People don't really have their own ideologies, their own thought systems, or their own belief patterns. And what they're spewing is what they're hearing via whatever social media or whatever news station or whatever programming they trust, they follow, or they align with. They take that in as gospel and they're spewing it outward. And it's ugly. And that's what we're living through. But the universe is saying we have to, so that we can see the thorns. And I remember Gabby and I, after we laughed really hard about that, she said, but yeah, I guess at least now we know, right? Now you're standing next to people and now you know their true colors. You know if they're hateful, you know if they're this or they're that. You know, whereas before you didn't know, right? So that's what's happening is now we know. We're seeing the thorns and we're seeing the roses. But the reminder is at the top that the people, their eyes are like hypnotized. So even though they feel like it's their own belief system or ideologies, it's really only what they've been brainwashed with, steered with, conditioned to, or you guys know what I'm trying to say. So, let's hold some grace for some people. Let's not be those people, and let's try to understand that we're seeing this in full color right now because it's part of a healing process. Like, we have to see it. Like she said all those years ago. At least now we know, we see it. So that's the truth. At least now we're all seeing things pretty clearly. So we're seeing the people who know how to act with logic and be rational and not be hateful and overpowering and degrading. And we're seeing the people that act out terribly. And so now we can discern, right, who we want in our lives and who we don't. We can be very discerning. And that's what this is all about, okay? Now, we're starting the story. We started the story with be the chariot, move forward, seeking truth and information, seeking truth and knowledge. So let's not fall into this category of the media card where what we're saying is true is because we've only, our favorite podcaster or our favorite news station says it is. Let's be more diligent. Maybe look where we wouldn't. Listen to those we wouldn't normally listen to just for a minute to see if we can pick up on anything. But use our discernment. Seek truth and seek knowledge. Don't get caught up in what we're being told. Put on the armor of God. Step into your intuition. Really use your discernment moving forward. And stay protected because this chaos doesn't feel good and you don't want to catch it. So you don't want to be in a place where somebody's spewing a bunch of garbage and be emotionally impacted or brought down from that. So keep doing your spiritual protections and pulling light and doing those things that help bring you peace in a time of emotional chaos, because that's where we're at. So we start the story of the 7-card spread with a huge shift, the Tower card. So the Tower card in this deck, in the Deviant Moon deck, the Tower card, also a higher arcana card, is the Tower is coming down, but not from a crumbling foundation. It's coming down from a higher perspective. So higher vibrations, a higher way of seeing. It's like, okay, so the foundation was okay, but it's now being brought down from a higher way of being because we're moving into something, I don't want to say of a higher vibration, but I would say of a more spiritual way of being rather than so 3D. We're moving towards something that will be more like the Christed consciousness when you're coming. So think of that way, like the Christed grid, the Christed consciousness is breaking down the old paradigms, okay, with that Tower card. And above that, it's to bring in something brand new for us with that sun. The sun is a celebration. It's warmth, it's joy, it's prosperity. It's the duality coming together and finding a commonality. So today what we're seeing here with the 5 would be one person sees it this way and one person sees it this way, and the two of them have to fight about it. And they've forgotten all of the other things that they might have in common. They have to just be offended by the one thing that they don't agree on. And with the sun, these are twins, right? So the sign of the twin is the polar opposites. They're coming together in a celebration. So now they're able to say, oh, we don't agree on this, and this, but we do agree on this. And isn't that nice? And people can come together in a way that's much more loving, right? Because we don't need everybody to be exactly like us, and we don't need, that would be boring. We're unique individuals, and we all have our own experiences, and those experiences can shape our knowledge. When we have experience in something, then we've gained knowledge in places that other people haven't maybe gained knowledge because they haven't experienced, right? So we all have different experiences. We've all been through different things. We've all experienced. And so I might have knowledge here that you don't, but you got knowledge over here that I don't. And so your ideas of the way you believe or think or feel in this area that you have expertise may be different than how I feel. But I might not be an expert in that. Maybe I've only experienced a tiny bit of it, not a whole bunch of it. So who am I to say that you shouldn't have your belief system, right? And why should that affect the way I put my pants on, right? Why should we be at each other over it? And that's where we're at right now with this 5. And it's conditioning through the media and through podcasters and, back channels or anybody that we're watching via a screen or a show that's helping to condition our minds, steer us to a particular way of thinking or being. And that's not healthy and that's not good. It takes away our own individuality, for one thing, because now we're just adopting what somebody's said. So we're really being asked to seek our own truth and knowledge and keep on our armor of God, stay spiritually protected, and move forward with some grace and some honor. And we're going to need that. We're going to need it. So as this tower comes down, which is a major arcana card, to bring us to a place where we actually come back together with a little more grace instead of all of this chaos here. We come across from that and we have our 9. We have our 9 of Pentacles, you guys. I'm sorry it's dark. Is what it is. But the 9 of Pentacles in the Deviant Moon deck is a woman, and she's out there, and she's alone, and she's walking in the world, and her assets are around her. So connected to her that she's looking out for is her child or her pet. Can be either or both, depending on the reading. In this reading, as a general reading, I'm going to say it's both, right? What are our assets? The things that we love. First and foremost, those should be our assets. Above money and things. So, like, my little Lukey Duke is an asset of mine. I love him. My son, my boyfriend, my sister, my family, my brother-in-law was a huge asset of mine. My nephews, my friends. Huge assets to me. You can't replace, irreplaceable, right? And she's out there protecting what she loves, okay? She's got it very close to her hip, chained to her, very close to her hip as she walks the world. And all around her, you have those pentacles. That's the earthly pleasures. So for me, what are earthly pleasures? Everything that it was meant to be. Some people don't look past money and power and things, but earthly pleasures really represent the flowers, the trees, the gardens, the birds, the wildlife, the oceans, the aquatic life. Those are earthly pleasures that we've been graced with. They're beautiful, amazing, living beings, just amazing. And then there's also what the earth holds. So gemstones, gold, silver, money, your bank account, your house, your truck, those things along with all the rest. So she's out there and she's got all of her earthly pleasures surrounding her and what's important to her close to her hip, right? But this is a 9, and 9s end cycles. And so they're telling us with this Tower card that as the tower is coming down, the old foundations that we've lived on, that we've built, were built on a perspective that comes from a lower way of thinking, all right? And we're ending that cycle of how we think around our earthly pleasures and our assets. And we're ending that cycle. We're bringing in a higher perspective. We're going to start seeing our children and our animals and our planet with a higher perspective. we're going to start seeing what money actually means and can do with a higher perspective. We're going to start seeing things from an entirely different viewpoint, you guys, because the old way is ending. The old way that we viewed things is ending. And that doesn't mean every single person, right? So that just means a blanketed statement, so the majority. So if you know somebody who's incredibly greedy and only cares about money and things and power, they may never come into this higher perspective. They may never do that. Some people that I know personally, we already have a great love for our planet. We already have a great love for nature. We already have a great love for our aquatic life and our oceans. We already feel a connection to our earth. We already have a great love for animals and children and humanity, no matter how bad they're acting here with this 5. We may struggle, you guys, interacting with people because people are acting out, but we still hold a great love for humanity, right? So some people are already feeling this way, and their feelings will probably amplify. And other people may never change their perspective. But it looks like with this reading, the majority is going to change. We're going through a time of great change. A spiritual upgrade, a spiritual awakening from those higher perspectives from above, and it's making great change. But that change, we're feeling the friction of the vibrations. Everybody's showing who they are. We need to see it because the Empress really wants us to see the thorns amongst the roses. Above that 9 that's ending the cycle, we have that Hermit. And the Hermit also is a 9. It's ending a cycle. The Hermit can't take it. He's gone off to be by himself. He's withdrawn. He's gone into his cave because outside is bullshit. And that would be me and a lot of other people that I know. And he's impacted by this center card, this 5. People just spewing out crap and acting out terribly and presenting themselves on garbage can lids. And so the Hermit has retreated. And so that's where we're at. We're at a place where we're ending things. Things are coming to pass, you guys. Great change is taking place. It's uncomfortable. A lot of us have retreated because of this stuff, because of people like this, because of people acting out horribly. And it's part of the process that we're going through. But the universe says that we have to just stay with our armor of God and move forward with grace, seeking truth and knowledge, right? That everything that we're seeing right now is kind of a collapsing of the old systems, the old ways, the old ideologies, and we're bringing up something new. And the great warning in this entire thing is to not be caught up in the media so much as to be guided by our highest selves, our Creator, our spiritual teams, our intuition, and that higher perspective. And that, yes, we may want to retreat. It would actually be, this quiet time alone in the cave where we're doing our spiritual work, where we're seeking our information, where we're sending out love to the rest of the world is actually very healing, and it's good for us. And if we're doing that, we're actually ahead of the game. And I know that all of us have been very secluded, very much in retreat since I started doing these videos in 2020. So it's actually good for us. We may be starting to feel a little lonely, perhaps. And this is why this is getting brought up, because 5 years is a long time. And for many of us, it's been before that. But it is that place that we can heal. You know, when we're healing from our highest perspective and our intuition and pulling light in our spirituality. Honestly, quiet, we need the quiet. And it's hard to have quiet when, let's say, we're always around people or we're always out doing things. We have to have quiet to heal. I haven't been on for over a week, because I needed my dark, quiet mornings to start my healing process, you know? And so it's important, and it's where we're at. And they want us to know that retreating, because we felt like the world was crazy and we might go crazy in it, is actually good for us. It's a place to heal as long as we use that for healing and we don't allow it to mess with our minds and get so consumed with the media and the show on the world stage that we lose that armor of God. We've got to balance that seeking the knowledge and the wisdom with our spiritual practices so that we stay balanced and we don't get caught up and brainwashed by the things that are playing out on the world stage. And so I'm just going to pull a couple more cards. And see just a couple more, and then we'll close this off, you guys. Now, I know that in this week that I've been very much withdrawn, my own personal going into the cave to heal. I have heard from some people close to me that there was all this talk of stealing and if you see people steal and really triggering people's emotions, right? Step out of that. That's the world stage creating drama that hovers over us and causes people to act out. I've been out and about. I had to go out and shop for my brother-in-law's service. You know, I've been out and about. I haven't seen any stealing. You know, I haven't seen any of that. Like, project the world we want to live in. And don't get caught up in what they're telling you what's going to happen. And then you get upset about it. And half the time it doesn't even happen. And people have already created this huge upset and this bitching about something that hasn't even happened yet, right? So don't get caught up in that stuff, you guys. Step away from the stories on the world stage. And heal and be the chariot and heal. Observe as the Empress does, observe the roses through the thorns, feel joy, heal. Send out healing, heal yourself. Go into silence. Don't listen to the crap being spewed. Heal. Seek knowledge and wisdom, but don't absorb what you're seeing, reading, healing. Observe, don't absorb. This is a time where great change is happening, and discernment and maintaining your individuality is very important. that we don't become these zombified people that have either picked a side and follow only that side, or listen to everything as though it's gospel. It's really important that we don't do that. That's our pathway. That's what's happening, you guys. So let's pull a couple more cards. All right, so the first card that we pulled was the Two of Rods. That's my harvest. That's balance, right? That is balance, and that's the beginning of a harvest. The beginning of a harvest of something much better. And that sets directly over our Sun card, which is coming to a place of celebration, happiness, joy, warmth. So we're in the very beginning stages of this big shift that's leading us to something better. And, you know, the very beginning of understanding with this Death card that though we may have lived a certain way, thought a certain way, been a certain way, that there's always room to move out. She's pushing the baby aside, saying, I raised you for 2 years. You can't nurse right now. I'm getting ready to birth something new. Move aside. Something new is coming in. So with that Death card, it really is. It's like, it's in this particular deck, it's not showing you the ugly. What it's doing is saying, I raised you and I nurtured you to this point. And I love you, but step aside, because now I'm bringing forth something new, right? So just because we thought something 2 years ago doesn't mean that we have to hold that sacred today. That's called growth, right? Just because we held an ideology for 30 years doesn't mean we have to hold that ideology today. It means that we're willing to push aside old paradigms, old ideologies, old thought processes, old ways of being, and bring forth something new and better for ourselves. And that's what we're in the process of doing, big picture. And so it's going to look like chaos. And a lot of people, when their paradigms and their ideologies start to crumble on them, and not hold strong like they thought they did, often there'll be a nervous breakdown with that, with the death and the birth, right? So we're seeing a lot of emotional distress. And it really is because we're in the beginning phases. It feels like we've been here for a long time, but we're not really. They're only giving us a 2. We're in the beginning phases of birthing a higher perspective and a happier, actually more loving way of being. So before, think of it this way, before, when everyone was in the closet with their ideologies, they were just in the closet with their ideologies. They still held these ideologies that we may not have liked. Like, you know, nothing's more disappointing than running into the old guy at the store that you've been having this wonderful conversation with, you know, every Friday morning, every week of the year. And, you know, he's made you smile, and then all of a sudden he feels bold enough to puke out his ideologies, and you find out he's a racist prick. You wish that he hadn't shown you that side of him, because you have enjoyed him for so many years. But we're seeing the thorns. We're seeing the thorns in amongst the roses. And though it doesn't feel good to see it, at least we know. And we don't always know how we truly feel about something if it's not presented to us, right? So it's igniting our heart to feel a particular way about things, and find ourselves and our true identities and our true feelings. And because maybe you didn't think twice about racism because you live in an area where you don't see that really, and you don't hear it. And so your heart hasn't really even thought about it, hasn't had a direct feeling about it because you haven't been presented with it. But now that nice old man that you thought was a nice old man up the road has presented you with hatefulness towards either a gender or a race. And your heart goes, ugh, I don't like that at all, right? Who? And now you sit with that, and you discover who you are in the face of that type of adversity. Do you know what I'm saying? So you get to know yourself a little bit better, right? And that's kind of where we're at, you guys. We're in that beginning phase of like, we've got this old paradigm coming down, and people are getting to know themselves. They're getting to know really who they are. And some people are just following blindly to the world stage rather than going within with the hermit and healing themselves and finding their true identity as they're getting ready to birth something new. So that's our advice. Continue to grow and learn. This is what we're doing blanketed, but it's also what we're doing individually. And so we're going to see more ugly as all of this shifts, as people with this 9 start to reevaluate from a higher perspective what really is important to them, and they start moving out the things that aren't, that really, that need to be moved aside so that they can birth something new, who they truly are. People are becoming more authentic through the chaos, but the warning is that we continue to become authentic through ourselves and not be led like sheep via the stories and the presentations going on the world stage. And then we are going to end it with the Ace of Swords, which is the Great Awakening. So we're being urged to pull away from the world stage. And we're being urged to continue to go within and to continue to feel our way through things, our own ideologies, our own feelings, our own thought processes. Not allow the chaos that's happening with other people acting out to impact us. Not allow the media and the memes and social media and the podcasts to impact us into a state of now we're just brainwashed from one thing to another, but to continue to do our own individual work and open our crowns and lift our vibration and become that higher perspective and really discover who we are and what matters to us and what we find important, and go within and do our healing and do our shadow work with that death card, because we may have held something so close to us that we actually take it on as almost an identity of who we are, that for 30 years felt right to us. And now we're discovering maybe within ourselves that it doesn't feel right, but we're afraid, the shadow work would be, the ego doesn't want you to admit that maybe you were wrong. And so our egos will say, no, you weren't wrong. No, you weren't wrong. And try to talk us into but staying with that paradigm, because it's easier than admitting that you're not perfect, right? So continue to do our shadow work and move out those things that we have grown within us that maybe aren't that pretty, or maybe we were wrong, but continue to do that because it is the Great Awakening. And the overall message to this is to be able to walk with joy. Saturday, before my brother-in-law died, I had made plans with my boyfriend's sisters and his niece and his brother-in-law's, because one of his sisters is moving away, and we wanted to all get together. We'd gotten together a few weeks ago, and we'd done a big lunch together, but we wanted to get together and do a breakfast before she moved away. And so we had scheduled for the Saturday that we just had. And she said to me, Lorri, do you want to reschedule? I mean, but she's leaving on the 18th of this month. She said, do you want to reschedule? We totally understand if you want to reschedule. And I said, no, I don't want to reschedule. I want you to understand that I'm a mess. My house isn't quite up to snuff. But that I love you and life is short and I'm not going to miss this opportunity to see you. Right? Life is short. And in a New York second, everything can change. And she said, and I said, and obviously I'm not going to be making that cheesecake that I had planned on, because I was going to be pretty busy over the weekend making things for my brother-in-law's service. I'm disoriented, I'm kind of scattered. I cry at the drop of a pin. I'm a mess, but I don't want to cancel. I want to see you. It's important that we see you. People are important. Life is unpredictable. Everything can change in a New York minute. I didn't want to cancel, and so everybody came. And my boyfriend's niece, who is adorable, she's not a little kid, but she always will be in my heart, right? She's in her 20s. She said to me, how are you? And I said, life is beautiful and it's ugly. And right now, I'm just trying to walk hand in hand with both with a little grace. And that's what this card actually kind of represents. Life is beautiful and it's ugly. But we are meant to walk here. That's the goal. That we eventually learn how to walk hand in hand with both, simultaneously, with a bit of grace. And it's not always easy, but it's the goal, right? That's the goal. So let's keep that in mind as we move forward, understanding that we're living in a time, we came in during a time where there's a great shift from a higher perspective, and that it will be beautiful. It will bring people together in ways that aren't so closeted anymore. It's easy to like somebody if you don't know who truly they are. That's easy because they just seem like something, right? Where we're going is to be able to see that people are different than you and do hold different ideologies and don't always believe exactly as we believe. But with the sun, we're able to come together in loving ways anyway. It doesn't matter. We're not expecting everybody to be the same shade of gray or to be exactly like us. That's the ego seeking same. And where we're going is from a much higher perspective than that. And this change that we're going through we We feel differently about everything upon this earth plane. Ourselves, the earth, the assets, the people, the animals, all life. The plant life, the aquatic life, all life. This shift is huge. It's the Great Awakening. And the Great Awakening is actually what's creating the emotional chaos. But it's good for us to be able to see people and things for what they truly are. Because we're not going to fix anything. If we're only seeing the roses, we're not going to fix anything. And if we're only seeing the thorns, we're not going to find joy. And we're going through some great change. And we're being warned to continue with the Great Awakening. We're being told, continue with that Great Awakening. Continue to isolate yourself, to give yourself the time to do your spiritual work and your healing. Don't allow what's going on the world stage to pull you in, suck you in, and hypnotize you. Let's not be the bullies that are puking out things on garbage can lids. And let's continue, rising higher to start new. But we're being warned, this is a time where we're going through great change for the better, but we're seeing the ugly and it's necessary. And we're being advised to not allow ourselves to get caught up in it. So that's our message for today. Let's be the chariot moving forward. Armor of God, spiritually grounded and guided and protected, seeking knowledge and wisdom from a higher perspective and through our own intuition, allowing the old paradigms to come down, allowing the light to come in, practicing love for people that do not necessarily agree with everything that you think. Love, when it's based on things like that, isn't true love, right? It's not. Yes, we, in order to be in personal relationships, obviously you want the big picture dynamics to be agreed upon. Two married people are not going to make it very far in a marriage if they totally disagree on how to raise their child. But as far as being able to care and love for the world and to have friends that are different than us, that's where we're going, to a higher state with more love. And I'm glad, because I don't think it would be much fun if we were all the same shade of gray anyway. And we're going through the chaos of it all right now. So don't get caught up. Continue to heal, do your shadow work, admit the things that you might have held dear to you that seem wrong to you today. Let them go, move them out of the way, allow for you to birth something new. Know that this is happening big picture, all of these major arcana cards. But it's happening big picture because with each one of us individually, we are each individually rising higher. And that's what creates the big picture. And that's also what creates the chaos, because she's right on top of the chaos. The Great Awakening creates the emotional chaos. Okay? All right, you guys. So stay heart-centered. Take care of yourself. Stay high vibing. Don't get caught up in the chaos of the world. Don't get caught up in what's on the world stage. It's not for you. Keep doing your spiritual work. Do your shadow work. Allow the awakening. Move forward, guarded, spiritual armor on, your armor of God, spiritually grounded, connected and protected, seeking information. Move forward in the world with grace. Understand that we do live in a time where there's a lot of thorns, but there's also a lot of roses. Just be able to observe them both and still feel love and joy with that Empress. All right, you guys, so that's it for today. I love you all. Have a beautiful day, and I will see you soonish. All right, bye.